Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I Overreacting and it's by user clover159. Am I overreacting? Is my boyfriend valid for feeling this way? Okay, so I'm 17 female, my boyfriend is 18 male. So I was awake and I noticed he was online on Instagram, so I texted him asking him why he's awake and if he's okay. And our conversation went like this. I texted him asking what he was doing awake and he just said he didn't know. I asked if everything was okay and told him he should go back to sleep since it was really late. Then he told me he had a dream I cheated on him. I apologized right away and reassured him that would never happen because I'm truly in love with him. He started saying I was being suspicious for telling him to go back to sleep, so I explained it was just because it was 3 a.m. Then he asked why he would even have a dream like that and said maybe his gut was warning him. I told him sometimes when we think about something all day, we end up dreaming about it, and I asked how I could help. He told me I couldn't, and that every time I take more than 5 minutes to text back, he gets pissed. I reminded him I always reassured him and that I have classes. He said exactly, that I'm around other guys and probably talk to them too. I explained that I barely even have like 5 guys in class and I don't talk to them, and he could even ask Lena, a friend of mine. But then he said Lena's a floozy too and would cover for me. I asked if he was implying I was one too, and he said no, but I might be one behind his back. I asked what that even meant and why he always acts like that, and he said it's because he's convinced I'm doing stuff behind his back. I told him it was all just because of a dream and reminded him that I'm always with Lena or Bianca, that he has my location and even my passwords. I asked what else I could do, and he said I could just stay home, that it wasn't that hard. I told him I know it's not, but I can't stay home 24/7, especially since I already feel suffocated with how my mom is always arguing with me. He said that was just excuses and claimed I was proving his point, that only floozies can't stay home. Then he asked how I'd feel if he went out every week with his homeboys. I told him I wouldn't tell him what to do and he could if he wanted, but just to be safe. I also asked him to stop calling me names when I haven't done anything and reminded him he was accusing me based on a dream. I told him I was sorry he had it, but it wasn't going to happen. Then he flipped it and said, so now I don't care if he goes out, and called me dumb as hell. He told me I don't get jealous about him and that puts him off. I explained that it's because I trust him not to do anything. After that, he said he was just going back to sleep and that I was for real about to piss him off. I told him sorry and that I love him and I wished him a good night. I mean, yeah, it's late for me to be awake, but I slept a lot earlier, so I'm not tired. Anyway, I'm asking because I feel bad now. I feel like I didn't reassure him enough and that I'm sad I let him go back to sleep angry. I get he fears I'll cheat, but I don't think I've ever given him a reason. I feel like this comes from his previous relationship, but I'm really trying to heal whatever happened to cause him to act this way, but it doesn't seem to work. I don't know, did I not reassure him enough? Also, he says I go out a lot, but he knows the only times I go out is with my 2 friends, and I always make sure to turn on my location, and he even has my friends' addresses, which they don't mind because they know it's for him to make sure I'm at their houses, and he FaceTimes me sometimes when I'm out, so I'm not sure if I should stay home like he wants to. Am I not doing enough? Oof, OP, you're not overreacting at all. I think it's him that's overreacting because he's a control freak and one big red flag, just a walking red flag with legs and tiny little red flags in its red flag hands. Your text exchange drips with emotional manipulation, OP. He is making you responsible for his insecurities. He is making you accountable for a dream that he had. Just saying it makes me feel stupid. And sure, he didn't call you a floozy, but he certainly implied it, and not just that, it was a floozy by proxy kind of deal. OP, this guy is gaining control over you while he's also isolating you. Apparently your relationship with your mom sucks, so there's no support there, and your only 2 friends, well, they can't see you if you stay home all the time. And the cherry on top is that he makes you responsible for his feelings. You are not. You should get out now. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Chronic Dreams says, I wish people would be nicer to you in the comments. You're so young. Hopefully I can help and be kind at the same time. So, this is a very big red flag. This is a controlling, borderline abusive situation. Anyone who says to you that when you take longer than 5 minutes to respond, that it pisses him off that much, that's bad. And it sounds like he's the one who may have cheated or thought about it at least. It sounds like he's projecting. Projecting is a psychological term to explain when someone accuses you of something you've never done. It's usually because they are doing it themselves and feel guilty and don't want to be caught, so they throw it back at you. Honestly, if I were in your shoes, I'm breaking up. He also said something not nice about someone named Lena. When people talk badly about people for no reason, that's also a red flag. How people talk about people when that person isn't around says a lot. And OP responds, thank you so much. I wish too, but I didn't exactly think everyone was about to be super nice, but I get they're concerned. Thank you so much for this. I really didn't realize this all was damn near abuse until these comments. I appreciate them so much. Short ad 4718 says, in my experience, the one who is constantly casting accusations of cheating is usually the one who is cheating. OP, you are way too young to put up with this kind of behavior and disrespectful treatment. It is not your responsibility to heal him from any past traumas, and it's not fair that he is punishing you for someone else's actions, which is exactly what he's doing. Based on this conversation, he is a very emotionally unstable and abusive person, and I fear it will only get worse. I would seriously consider cutting ties and moving on. And be safe about it, especially since he's had your location and knows your friends' addresses and has your passwords. That could end up being dangerous. Electric Evergreen says, why are you saying I love you, sleep well after he just accused you of being a floozy and sleeping with other people behind his back? Honestly, OP, have some effing self-respect. You're underreacting and disregarding his completely crappy behavior towards you. I would have broken up with him for this. 3 a.m. irrelevant, not overreacting. And Il Polias says, yeah, this is ridiculously toxic from him. Implying you're a floozy, as well as calling your friend a floozy, is crazy and uncalled for. He sounds seriously immature and not ready to be in a relationship with anyone. Things like bringing up you have males in your class and saying you should just stay home are all controlling and abusive behaviors, and you will feed into it by pandering to his twisted feelings. Best advice I can give you is to do a 180 and run. OP's edit. Also, thank you for all the concern. I appreciate it so much. And I see people saying something about me getting hit, but I won't even give him the chance. By the way, he's scared of my dad. I don't know why. So for those concerned about my safety, I will definitely tell my dad about his behavior because he has no idea he is acting this way. But thank you for the concern and the advice. Smiley face. Edit 2. I am going to leave him. Working on it since he is still asleep right now. Alright, the community was loud and clear and OP heard the message, so let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Sorry this update took hours, but I did it. I broke up with him, thanks to these comments and the support. I was not surprised to how he reacted, cussing, calling me out of my name, and even accused me for leaving him for someone else rather than seeing I broke up with him because he's being abusive. I am hurt, but not because I exited this, but because my head is stuck in the past or the fake version of him where he was kind and when our relationship was great. I realized that was a mistake. I just felt bad at first because I thought I just didn't reassure him enough. But yeah, I can see how now I did enough. Happy tear. I'm emotional about it all right now, but I will get over it. I also want to say thank you all so much for the support, the comments, the advice as well. I truly would never even thought to end this because in my head, I had no idea this was considered abuse. I just thought it was insecurity I could fix. I will be forever grateful and glad I asked on here. Thank you so much to everyone. Also, the people who were straight up rude, calling me an idiot and making me feel like this was my fault, please learn to be kinder. It doesn't take much. Anyway, sorry for the long update, but since you all supported me, I owed it to you all. Smiley face. I'm eternally grateful for the help. Heart, heart. Good for you, OP. Good riddance to that red flag. But you gotta now play it safe too. So like that commenter said, change your password. Stop sharing location, block him. Just take all the necessary precautions. And here's wishing you the best, OP. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user AnonWife29. Am I the A-hole, 29 female, for wanting to cancel a surprise date my husband, 34 male, planned? My husband, 34 male, told me today, Friday, that his mom will watch our kids, 2-year-old and 8-month-old, on Sunday after he gets off work for a surprise date. On our way home from lunch, he starts the conversation with, I know you don't like surprises. This is partially true. I just like to plan mentally and like to get all dressed up for the occasion. He continues, my mom is going to watch the kids after I get off work and we can go out on a surprise date. I'm thinking this sounds pretty nice because both kids have been sick and we've been fighting more lately and just need to reconnect. Then he says, what would you like to do? I was thinking a movie. I'm okay with movies, but my husband knows they're more for him, not for me. So he then suggests that I look for a restaurant for us or something else to do. This is no longer feeling like a surprised planned date. I was okay with his ruining the surprise aspect, but I just don't want to have to plan anything. I do all the planning for everything. Trips, holidays, family time, date nights, etc. I was just hoping this one time he could plan it on his own. So I let him know this. He's been sending me links to restaurants to choose from and what to do after. I'm feeling kind of bummed at this point. Would I be the a-hole for canceling my surprise date my husband planned? Well, OP, I gotta say, with the information you gave us, I don't think either of you is absolutely in the wrong. I think you're both a little bit wrong, but also right. You say surprise in quotes, but you also told us that you don't like surprises. So if he does try to surprise you with a date, he might swing and a miss, and you might not like it. Now, of course, it could seem lazy that he says, hey, there's a surprise date, what do you want to do? But if we take a look at the context, he's actually worried that you might not like it. And you can tell that because when you told him to just plan for everything, he started sending you links to the places that he thought of because he wants your approval. So if I were you, I wouldn't cancel. He's trying to get you out of the house to have a date with you. He already got his mom to take care of the kids. He's definitely into this. He just wants to make sure that you're also going to have a good time. So sit down with him, have a talk about this date, and move on from there. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's check out the community comments. No Statistician 4201 says, OP, don't pass the opportunity to have a free time. From all the restaurants he sent you, choose 2 and tell him I narrowed down to 2 restaurants and I'd like you to do the final decision so that I can be surprised. Ask him not to tell what restaurant he chose in the end. He will need to make the reservations. Try to have a good time and enjoy yourself. Next time, you can try to explain to him that you would rather he make all the decisions and you can tell him the reasons why as you did on the post. Just remember, if next time he chooses everything, then you cannot be upset with the outcome. Full Pace 7666 says, maybe some middle ground needs to be met here. You don't like surprises, which, okay, fair enough. But you don't want to plan either, despite saying you like to plan things out mentally. This is probably why he gave you the freedom of choice as not to disappoint you with whatever he planned, or the surprise aspect. No a-holes here. Maybe have a sit down later about your respective expectations. NYC Storyteller says, you would be the a-hole if you cancel it, and it will reinforce to him to not bother trying to surprise you with anything. What you need to do here is to tell him that you appreciate that he has been trained that you don't like surprises. And now you recognize that apparently he's also used to you liking things a certain way, so he doesn't make decisions himself. Tell him that next time he wants to plan a date to just tell you that he's asked mom to babysit and that he is to plan the whole date, start to finish, using what he knows about you to help guide him in the decision-making process without running it by you step by step. Then afterward, you tell him you had a great time and you appreciate the effort he made. If it's low effort or only stuff he likes to do, be constructive in your feedback and say something like, I seldom get a chance to dress up. I'd love it if next time we have a date night, we go somewhere that we can dress up. And Desperate Pop 7954 says, I mean, going straight to cancelling it seems like an overreaction and maybe says something about how poor of a state your marriage is in. He did take the initiative to arrange childcare for the kids, which isn't nothing, so I don't think he deserves quite this level of resentment. He's looked up options, which also isn't nothing, and maybe he wants you to choose because he doesn't want to disappoint you. If you don't want the mental burden of choosing, just ask him to choose any option and make your expectations clear about what he needs to do when he's planning something. Though part of having him plan everything is not being disappointed when he doesn't do things exactly the way you would. Alright, well in general, no a-holes here, but the community is encouraging OP to not cancel and go forward with getting this date on. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Thank you for all the comments. Shortly after posting, I read the first few comments and took some into consideration that day. I tend to self-sabotage myself in the moment. I talked to my husband about him doing all the planning and to just give me a time and dressing attire and I'll accept no matter what happens. He liked this idea. The next day, Saturday, he called me from work around 2:30 p.m. to tell me that we have reservations for dinner at 7:15 p.m. on Sunday and to dress fancy. He called me 10 minutes later saying he set the wrong date and it was for tonight instead of tomorrow. He said he had talked to his mom and she was okay with the change. He ended up taking me to a restaurant called Soy Cowboy, and we had a 12-course meal curated by the chef. The food consisted of Asian mixed cuisine, which I love. There wasn't one meal we didn't like. We talked a bunch about future dates and other things to improve our marriage. Thanks again to everyone's advice. Well, OP, I think this is the best outcome possible. You didn't cancel the date, you talked to your husband and you were clear about what you wanted, and he followed through greatly. One small hitch that he fixed right away. So here's 2 more dates in the future and the best to the both of you. Take care, OP, and thanks so much for sharing. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user VikingZX. Landlord maliciously complied themselves. This happened a few years ago in my last apartment. My roommate and I were living in a basement place with upstairs neighbors, and the owner decided he wanted to sell. The upstairs neighbors ended up buying it and became our new landlords, and they were awful at it. I could fill a whole post with the amount of stuff they tried to get away with, but we're here to talk about one particular instance. Suffice to say, they had no idea that landlords had responsibilities and simply saw us tenants as a source of income that should be ever growing. Hence, our rent suddenly spiking and why we left. But there was one time they maliciously complied themselves. See, they had a habit of trying to push stuff on us that was blatantly illegal. Their first contract, for example, said amongst other things that they had the right to enter the apartment at any time they wanted and could go through our stuff if they wished because we were living on their property. I pointed out that this was highly illegal and they grew very upset, saying, "Well, we'll see about that." This clause later suddenly became the real one before we signed. One day, however, our lone fire alarm stopped working. As dutiful tenants, we reached out and said, "Hey, the fire alarm stopped working." Their response was predictable, sort of, "So what?" "We need to have a working fire alarm," we replied, "and it's the landlord's duty to provide working fire alarms." "No, it's not. You want one, you get it." The law says otherwise, and here's where they maliciously complied themselves. Possibly because they were getting tired of being corrected, they got snooty with this one. We got a very sarcastic response. "Oh, it does it? Well, we'll just see what the fire marshal has to say about that." Me and my roommate, upon receiving this message, burst out laughing. They were very serious. They thought they were going to contact the fire marshal. He was going to side with them, and then they could come down on us hard. I don't know what their expressions were when we said, "Okay, yeah, do that." However, the next morning, there's frantic knocking at our door. There's the landlord and his family looking very concerned with a bag of brand new fire alarms, one for each room, and IIRC even 2 spares. He begs to be let in outside of the 24-hour notice and says it's an emergency. He has to put these fire alarms up right now. Trying not to laugh, we let them in, and he hurriedly put one in every single room, apologizing profusely for the delay and telling us, if you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. I don't know how that meeting with the fire marshal went, or if they got him or someone else at their office, but their attitude painted a pretty clear picture of the ultimate result. They complied maliciously, thinking they'd called our bluff. Whoops. Well, OP, this malicious compliance had you doing nothing but just sending a text. Well done, OP. Thanks for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.